Everybody, it's Tony's time, and we're talking golf. That's right, our weekly show with my good buddy Doug Upstone, fresh off a thrilling PGA Championship last week. My picks kind of sucked. I had a rough premium play, push on Saturday and a push on Sunday with a small 3-unit winner. But quite a championship, Doug, there up in San Francisco at Harding Park. About 5-6 holes left. You had the biggest names in golf all at -10, gunning for the lead, and the biggest names in golf folded, and the 23-year-old, basically rookie sensation, Collin Morikawa, wins this thing in solid fashion, and obviously a player on the landscape that's going to, I think, continue to make some noise.
No question about it, Tony. I believe he's the fourth golfer, I believe at the age of 23, to win a PGA Championship, or 23 or younger. And so he, the things that we talked about last week. I mean, we talked about him being a contender because of being a local kid, having played the course, and then also the greens were a possibility of, let's just say, camouflaging some of his weaknesses in terms of putting. But when you're right at the lead and then you drive the green on a par 4, I like your chances, right? That was
he came up with some big shots. He's been in the mix in all these tournaments, and of course missed a 2-foot putt against Daniel Berger down in the Schwab Challenge down in Colonial, or he would have, that would be like third victory under the belt. This kid can play. You knew when in that tournament that he played Justin Thomas and won, when Thomas drains a 50-foot putt and he comes over top of him with a 25-foot putt just to get it into a playoff, that he's got nerves of steel. And that showed me a lot with him there. And this week, as we look forward to this week, the Wyndham Championship down in Sedgefield Country Club, Greensboro, North Carolina, the only Don Ross design course left on the PGA Tour, I might add, par 70, around little over 7,200 yards. Doug, this course here, not a star-studded field. A lot of guys stepping back from playing in the PGA Championship and taking a breather a little bit. A lot of stress, a lot of focus on that tournament is physically and mentally draining. But you've got a lot of players in this field that you're going to have to handicap, 20, 30 deep to get a handle on who's going to be able to contend this week. Smallish greens, iron play, greens in regulation, that's a Don Ross course. It is to have solid iron play and greens in regulation, your position off the tee box. I think it's a bomber's course, but it's going to be a bomber's course with some accuracy involved. And that brings a few players, I think, best bets into the mix for me this week for my picks. But a demanding course with your irons, Doug, this week, and hitting those greens and some of the smallish greens. And one thing about any Don Ross design course, you got a lot of false front on the greens. So you got to fire right at the pin in order to keep that ball on the greens this week.
Yeah, Tony, the thing that's important here is that, there's a number of holes that have blind tee shots. And so if you want to go up there and just let it go, well, you could get yourself in trouble. And so the most important thing at this golf course is you have to position yourself for your second shot. That is the absolutely most important aspect of this tournament. So that's what you have to do. You get yourself in so that you can start firing at those greens. Now, it's not a hard golf course. The last 4 champions have shot 21 under or lower. So there's going to be plenty of birdies here. Here's an interesting thing, though, is that even though the rough, it's going to be fairly long, but it's not going to be exceedingly long, for example, like at the PGA Championship. But the other aspect that comes into play here is that you do have to keep it on the fairway. And here's why, is that if you hit it in the fairway, greens in regulation over the last couple of years, guys are at at over 80%. If you hit it in the rough on your tee shot, that drops down to 53%. So you have to be in the fairway if you expect to score. And if you set yourself up, you're in good shape to do that. That's why this golf course, even though it's not particularly long, it has the ability to, for this type of an event, to keep these guys in line. And then the other thing too, Tony, of course, you mentioned a lot of the big players aren't here. And part of the reason also, besides the PGA Championship, this is the final event of the regular season. So what the guys that are secure, they're waiting for next week when the Tour Championship, let's just say, begins. And the guys that are, let's just say, from 100 to probably 150, only the top 125 continue going into next week. So there's a lot of guys that have to come up with big, score, I should say good scores this weekend on both sides in order to continue to play next week.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of jockeying for position in the top 20 to gain those FedEx points to get into the FedEx playoffs. And it's going to be a very interesting tournament. Not only, let's say, top 5 and how they come down, it's going to be a little bit of a birdie fest, but it's also going to be a very interesting watch to see who makes the cut to get into the FedEx Championships. And there's going to be a lot of players taking a lot of chances, a risk-reward type scenario for them. If they make the cut on Saturday and Sunday, it's going to be interesting to see how they manage their games, which will affect some head-to-heads, which I do head-to-heads on a daily basis. So one thing about it is, as you mentioned and alluded to, and I think it's, let me expand on that point a little bit. If you look at the last 2 winners, JT Poston last year led the field in strokes gained tee to green. The year before, Webb Simpson wins it, led the field in strokes gained tee to green. That means they're hitting the fairway and then nailing greens in regulation. And that's one thing that I want to look at when I'm looking at my picks this week, Doug. And I'm just going to get right to them, of who I think is going to contend. And again, I will take for a top 5. I think this course is built for Webb Simpson. He's one of the leaders on the odds board this week to win the tournament, and I'll pull those up in a minute when you're doing your comments. But also another player that I thought played extremely well last week, had opportunities to sneak into the top 5 and contend on Sunday, and that was Patrick Reed. I thought Patrick Reed played very well last week. Webb Simpson in the top 25 or top 5 here, and past champion 2 years ago at plus 225 to me looks very attractive just because of his overall game. It just fits courses like this, and nobody's going to argue that he's not good. If he's in the fairway, he's on the green and he's got a birdie putt 90% of the time. Another player that you can't ignore for a top 10 finish is Brendon Todd. He contended 2 weeks ago. He contended last week. He kind of fell down the thing here, but for a top 10 finish at plus 375, basically has not, he's in 7 tournaments. He's only finished past 22nd one time.
Yep.
So in 7 tournaments, he's been basically been inside of the top 20, and he's got a good game. And, it seems to me that adversity doesn't faze him. When adversity goes against him, he keeps his cool. He doesn't get upset. He doesn't, snap an iron over his knee like Shane Lowry. He doesn't, get upset like Sergio Garcia when he hits a bad sand shot. He doesn't wear his heart on his sleeve. He's got it together. He's won a couple of times in this season. I think he's a good, he's early. He gets up there. It's late that you have to worry about him. Clearly he's in the top 125 for the FedEx playoffs. And that's one thing I think you look at in these tournaments like this weekend, especially, Doug, the players that are clearly in the top 75 to 100 for the FedEx playoffs don't feel the pressure that the players that are gunning for it are. and he's going to be one of them. They're going to play a little looser, and I think that plays into the equation. Anybody who plays golf, and I play it weekly a couple of times and have my entire life. I'm a huge golf fanatic. Anytime it's a mental game as much as it is a physical game. You can have it all figured out and have the best swing and you're addressing the ball properly. Your grip is right. Your alignment is right. You're snapping your irons. You're keeping most of your drives in the fairway. You get up around the green, it gets in your head. You feel the pressure, and you can, no matter how good your game is, you can still blow it with the mental game. And that's one reason I like him. And finally, I guess, and you can comment on any of these, but I always give a long shot every week. And I think a player that's going to be in the top 5 is Paul Casey. I thought Paul Casey played an excellent tournament last week. He had a chance to win. If Morikawa wouldn't have got the eagle on 16 by driving the green and sinking the putt, Casey was right in it. I mean, he was the guy that was playing better than anybody that was 10 under that were falling by the wayside, either because of the pressure or they couldn't make a putt. Casey was as steady as they come. He's one of the leaders on the PGA Tour. He's in the top 10 in greens and regulation, and he's number 1 in overall driving on the PGA Tour. And that usually plays into your hands on a Donald Ross design course, especially this one. And bear in mind, he's had 4 top 20 finishes on this course. And I think him in the top 5 at plus 400 is going to be my best bet. And for him to win the tournament at plus 2,000, hell yes. I'll go ahead with a long shot on a $50 bill and take the plus 2,000. But that's kind of how I think it's going to unfold this week with my picks.
There you go. Okay. Well, you mentioned Brendon Todd, and actually that's one of the plays I have today too. Now mine's a head-to-head for the tournament, and that's going to be over Shane Lowry. Now, you mentioned Todd with his accuracy, and as much as this course seems to, and it fits Simpson, it also fits Todd because he's 3rd in driving accuracy. So, as you mentioned, the other aspects of his game are really strong. Lowry had I think he finished 6th at the St. Jude's. That's his best finish. Otherwise, in his 6 other tournaments, his best finishes are tied for 39th and 3 missed cuts. I definitely with you, Tony, on Brendon Todd to be a big impact on this. And you mentioned Simpson. What can you say? 8 top 10 finishes at this golf course. And I don't know if you saw this or not. When he had a daughter, you know what he named her? Wyndham. Wyndham Rose is her name. So I think he likes this golf course. That would be my indication, I guess, that he might be pretty good there. Now, as far as some other plays, you mentioned. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to agree with you. Webb Simpson here. He's going to be in the conversation the entire weekend. There's no doubt about it. I mean, and he's one of the best golfers on tour this year. Tony Finau is another one. Morikawa is another one. You take a look at these guys, Brendon Todd. You take a look at these guys. They're always hovering around the first page or 2 pages of the leaderboard. And a guy like Shane Lowry is not even on the map. And if you do see Shane Lowry in a head-to-head against anybody that's in the top 25 in the tournament, you got to lay $180 or minus 220 even to get a head-to-head against Shane Lowry. That's versus Todd, which is usually a favorite against anybody except maybe the top 4 or 5 on the leaderboard, and then maybe they're at a pick 'em or minus 110, 115. So that obviously plays out well. As a matter of fact, I think he was around 100. Matter of fact, I looked at that matchup as one of my bets, pre-tournament bets, and I put 100 on that very matchup between Todd and Lowry, and I got it at minus 110, which I think is dirt cheap for a line, Doug.
No question, that's a great price on that one. And speaking of great prices, you mentioned Sergio Garcia. Now, Sergio missed the cut last week. So that dropped him down to 134th in the standings, and he was a late entry into this tournament. So he needs a big week to continue to play. I think he's going to be up to the task, and I'm going to put him down at plus 200 for a top 20 finish that allows him to continue to play. And one other top 20 finish that I like is Billy Horschel. This golf course, he has 3 top 11 finishes in his last 4 trips here. He always plays well with his irons. If his putter is working like it basically did last week, that's always a good combination to be able to hit irons and make putts, Tony, as we definitely know. So we'll see if he can continue. But I like him also for a free pick there. And as you mentioned, I'm continuing to roll. I'm at a season high. I had a winning week last week. Season high, I think it's $3,480 profit based on units. So going to see if we can keep it going. I had 11 out of 17 winning weeks. Let's do it again.
Yeah, here you go. Here, congratulations on that. By the way, I got my ass handed to me last week. I tell it like it is. I did not have a good tournament. I pushed both matches on Saturday. And pushed, I did take Finau over DeChambeau on Sunday. I just thought Tony Finau was ready to finally kind of shake that monkey off his back a little bit and have a strong Sunday. And he did, but more so than usual, but they tied. If you take a look, and by the way, I'm pissed off at Garcia. I had a 7-unit pick on him over Phil Mickelson in the opening round, and the kid dumped like a mofo because I knew that Mickelson was going to have trouble hitting fairways on this course, that course at Harding Park, and he's played it I don't know how many times. He's from that area. But at the end of the day, I'm a little down on Garcia, so I'm going to let you have that one all to yourself. I thought he played like crap. He did play better the second day, but my goodness, I'm just a little bitter on that one. But let's take a look at the top golfers here, and I'll get your comment on one of them. Webb Simpson obviously is 11-1 to win. Brooks Koepka. Is it Koepka? Because I got in the comments last week, somebody said I'm pronouncing that wrong. Koepka. Brooks Koepka. They say it right this time, guys. He's 12-1. Paul Casey, my big pick, 16-1. Patrick Reed, another one of my picks, 16-1. Tommy Fleetwood, 20-1. Justin Rose, who played better last week, surprisingly, out of nowhere after playing like a dog turd in a cantaloupe patch all year, shows up last week big time. He was in the mix till the very end. Justin Rose, 22-1. Harris English, 28-1. Waste of money. And here we go with Doug Upstone's insight. Ranked, I think, 8th in the standings. Billy Horschel, 35-1. Jordan Spieth, 35-1. And Sung-Jae Im at 35-1. I guess 2 comments from you, Doug. Your thoughts on Brooks Koepka this week after absolutely just taking a crap in the middle of the green on Sunday, shooting 4 over par in the when he's in the top 3 on Sunday in a major. How does he recover from that and play well here? I think he has to play well. I don't know what his standing is in. I think he's probably okay in the FedEx Cup. And then the other pick here that kind of raises my eyebrows, we didn't mention, Tommy Fleetwood is a pretty good golfer. How do you think those 2 fare this week?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, okay, my actual opinion, I don't like either one of them for betting purposes. Let's just get that out there. Koepka, one of the things with him is, he had a rare off day on a Sunday in a major championship. I mean, he doesn't win them all, obviously, but he seldom plays poorly, and he did. I mean, it was one of those things. I don't think there's any motivation for him in this one at all. And so him to be he deserves to be that high in terms of betting odds, but he does not deserve to be that high in terms of actual wagering. He's unmotivated. It's not an interesting course. And then going forward next week, he just, now it starts to count because now, he's got a bigger prize that he could win possibly in Atlanta, for the Tour Championship. So I think that's his motivation, is just to keep playing going forward. Then you mentioned Fleetwood. Fleetwood's one of the best ball strikers there are in golf, but even like last week, he was in the middle of the fairway on a couple of different holes. I mean, dead center, and he missed the green, Tony. I mean, it wasn't even close. And so I'm not sure where this guy's game's at right now, and he's another guy that I'm running away from.
Yeah, he's a extremely good iron player. I mean, I'd put him up there with Morikawa, in terms of striking irons and hitting greens. Around the greens, chipping, a little bit questionable for Fleetwood right now. Hasn't been that way in the past. He didn't miss a chip in the Ryder Cup, I can tell you that. And then, of course, his putting, he didn't miss a putt in the Ryder Cup either. But at the end of the day, that's not 100%. And betting on Koepka this week is like betting on Tiger Woods last week. It's a waste of money. It's just not there. And I do think he's using this tournament more so as a warm-up to sharpen his game, but not necessarily, work on those things that cost him last week on Sunday. But like I said, I question his motivation, and him to be in the top 4 on the odds board for this here is a sucker bet, in my opinion. He's Doug Upstone. He is absolutely smoking red hot in golf. I was doing awesome until last week, so I'm on the rebound this week. Here, we'll have my head-to-head golf picks up Thursday through Sunday over there at DocSports.com. Be sure and take advantage of the free $60 we give you. Get on board in any sport. We got NBA heating up. We got hockey in the playoffs. We've got some Major League Baseball going on. NASCAR's been red hot for me as well. So be sure and jump on board this weekend at Doc Sports. Your winning combination on the PGA Tour. Tony, George, and Doug Upstone and Doc Sports. Thanks for tuning in this week, folks.